as you can see very clearly in the picture, we do have the mic. Okay, I'm making sure that Twitch caught up. We do have the mic now. I'm hoping this is really helping correct the audio problems that we were having before. I'm really hoping it gives that crisp, clear, kind of just better quality sound. So this is part 4 of us building this blog using Gatsby. And here's what we have so far. Here's where we left off. We can go to our post. We have like a little title, a little about section. Sorry, that's so cool. We have this little title, this little about section, and we have each individual post that we can click and go to. Very, very basic stuff. And we're pulling that all from our WordPress backend right here, where we add posts and things like that. So what we're going to do in this video is we're essentially going to list our categories and be able to select a category and then see all the posts that pertain to that category. I feel like that's very important in a blog, especially a technical blog. If people are looking for you to talk about certain topics such as React, JavaScript, GraphQL, things like that, they're going to want to see other posts about that. See if you have maybe some series. You could do the same process with your series. Give those a category and things like that. So very important feature, I think, to have in a blog. So to get started, I've already done it, but you can go ahead and do it as well. You're just going to literally add categories back here in your WordPress database. Backend, or whatever you're using to post your blogs, really. You just add your categories, add a slug, and description if you want to. So like for blog, we'll look at it. I named it blog. The slug is just simply blog. I said these are all categories about blogs. Sorry, that's actually wrong. These are all posts about blogs. I don't know what I was doing when I created that. So super simple. You're just gonna make some categories. And then you're going to go to your post, and we're going to assign that post to a category, essentially. Super simple. So get that set up just so we have that out of the way. And we already have our blog post with blogs, and we already have our blog post with categories, so we don't have to worry about that when we want to start pulling them in. So let's dive into the code real quick. Let's get off of that. So what we're going to want to do first is create a component that we can use to pull in all our categories, because we need to list our categories in a list in order to be able to utilize them and to click on them and for the user to see all of them and select which one they want. So we're going to create a new component. We're just going to call it categories.js. All right. And so we're going to go ahead and import React, the basic stuff. So we're going to be exporting a few things. We're going to be using some things in this specifically. Yeah. So let's go back. Let's do this. Import. We're going to use link. And why in a minute I will tell you. I don't need that. Link, use static query, which I will tell you all about here in a second, and of course GraphQL. So we're going to start out by making this real simple. We're going to actually create a custom React hook to do this. So this kind of goes into why we're using use static query. So the thought process behind this is we want this component that's going to literally go and grab all our categories from the WordPress database. But as you see, we've created a component. We've not created a new page in the pages folder. And the way Gatsby works is it allows you to kind of run. Let's pull up the home page real quick because it's still in there right now. It allows you to run at the bottom. It allows you to export a query, a GraphQL query on these pages, and it pulls those pages. It pulls that data and supplies it to the page as a prop, kind of like what Next does with get initial props, kind of like that kind of sort of thing is what it's doing, but it's using GraphQL. Well, that feature is not available to us in components because they're not built the same way that the pages are built out. And so this gives us a little bit of problems, and gave me a little bit of problems at first because I just wanted a component that could do this. I didn't want to have to simply put that all into my index page or my starting page and like pull in all these different things and pass them as props. And then if I wanted to create a categories list somewhere else, I would have to repeat that entire process. Well, that didn't seem, that's not optimal. We don't want to do that. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to create a custom hook here. We're just going to call it use get categories. And this is a custom React hook, so you need to be running at least React 16. Ideally, you're running the latest version of React, but at least you need to be running React 16. And we're going to create a static query with GraphQL. We're going to say use static query. And this is where this is already built in function of Gatsby, but it is utilizing React hooks. And the cool thing about this is what it's going to do is it's going to allow this component to make this query reusable. It's going to allow us to run this when the component is built. So this allows us to query at build time. It's going to run that every time we build this component out. So if we have it on the index page, the categories page, all these different pages, every time that page uses the component, it'll build it out. So that's why it's called use static query, and that's why it's kind of mimicking the functionality of the pages, but we're going to be using it on the components instead because we don't have that functionality for the components. So if you just tried to run this like export like a regular query, it would not work. It gives you some kind of error such as like Gatsby sees that there's a query, but it doesn't understand how to parse it. And that's because it's saying like, hey, I know you're trying to query it, but I'm not running that at this time. There's nothing I can do with that information. So this use static query is pretty much like building out the query into the component. So essentially it's getting ran at build time. So it's already stored, like it's already grabbed all that data. So every time we build out, say we go to home page, the query's already been run. We're not running it again. We go to say the contact page has a categories list on it. It's already been built out there. So that's why it's called like a use static query. We're essentially building it now at the start and getting to use it for this component throughout its lifetime. So enough about me rambling on and on about that. We're going to get right into it. We're going to create a query, all WordPress category. And this is from our Gatsby source WordPress plugin, which I cannot talk about enough how great it is. Like it's literally wonderful. Oops. Wow. Let's grab this. Let's do this. There we go. It's literally wonderful, and it literally has all these queries already built in, and you can literally build them out. As you see, I went to the localhost /_ GraphQL, and it literally has all these different types of queries you can literally build out. So it's got them already built, so it understands the logic and what you're trying to use. So we're going to use the all WordPress category query to grab all the WordPress categories. Kind of simple there. And so just your basic query. And we're going to grab the ID, the name, and the slug of all the categories. And so from this use get categories, from this hook, from this custom hook that we're creating, we're going to return what we get essentially from running the query. So when this query is built, for the first time, when it's built all together, making it static, we're going to run it. It's actually going to run the query. We're going to get the data back, and that's what we're going to return from this. So just like we would essentially be supplying this to props to a page, we're essentially returning it ourselves, and we're just not on the page that's going to supply it directly to props. We're going to be supplying it through the query, through the hook, essentially. So that's essentially what we'll be doing, if that makes sense. And I think it'll make a little bit more sense in here in just a second, because we're actually going to now build out a component that is a categories list. So I'm going to show you how we're going to use that React hook right now. So we have a component categories list, but so we want to use this use get categories hook to essentially build this component. We're saying, hey, we have this query that runs. It's already ran. It's got all this data for categories. We need to use that here in this categories list component because we want to list out all the queries. So just how you would, we're going to grab that return from use get categories. So we're going to call that function. We're going to grab that return. We're going to destructure it so we don't have to do all that other good stuff. We have it in a variable called edges, and then we're simply going to just make a list. Categories. We're going to create an unordered list. And so the first one I'm actually not going to put from the data that we received because I want an all categories tag. So for the first one, we're gonna create it ourselves before we loop through those categories that are provided, and we're going to create a link to back to my home page because that's where I have all my posts stored, just so we have a way to see all the posts without a certain category. And now we need to loop through. So we're going to loop through edges because that's where we got all those categories from. That's where they're living from the return statement of that hook that we ran above. We're going to map through those. We're going to get a category. We got a key. And so what we're going to do is now we're going to build out. Oh, crap. Now we're going to build out the rest of those keys so we don't get that weird, that ugly React error. We have link to, and as we did before, we're going to want to build out a custom route for each of these category pages. Now, essentially, what I wanted to do the first time was just kind of reload the list that was showing on the home page every time you chose a new category. But it got a little hairy because you'd have to pass a lot of props. Well, not a lot of props. You just have to pass category props. But the main problem with that is the fact of getting all the posts from any category is not the same query you would run as getting a post from a certain category. And so having to run multiple posts and do checks like, oh, is categories all or is there a specific category, just to update the list on the homepage just seemed a little excessive for what I wanted this blog to be. I wanted it to be very simple, very intuitive. So we're just going to take the user to a simple route that has all the posts for that category. And I think it's going to look a lot cleaner. It's going to match and make a lot more sense. And so essentially that's what we're going to do. So this route right here can be anything you want, but I'm going to put it under a category, and then we're going to have that category name. Oops. So that's why you had to have the slug as part of one of your WordPress I guess fields for the category, so that we can use that here. So you know any spaces and all that will be hyphens and all those things. So it'll be link friendly. So we're going to essentially create a category page for each category that's presented in the list. So if they click on a category that's, say, blog, it'll be /category/blog. So that way it has its own page and place to live, just like we did with the post page. So we're essentially doing about the same thing there. And then we're going to call it, of course, its name. So super simple. We have now essentially done two things in this file. We have created a custom hook that is going to use Gatsby's useStaticQuery hook that is going to allow us to put this hook into the component, and it's going to run once when it's built, and we have that data for every time we want to reuse this component throughout the app, making this use categories component reusable throughout the application. And we don't have to say, if we want to have the categories on the index page and we didn't have this, we would have to then add like another query onto here and then put them on in here and then go through the data and all that stuff, and then say we wanted to do it on another page, we'd have to do the same thing. Well, that just seems redundant. Sorry, going to get rid of that. That just seems redundant, and there's just no need for us to have to sit there and do that every time we want to render the categories list. So what we're going to do is, like I said, use a static query, make it into this component, and then in our categories list component, we're going to use that data that we just returned and essentially map through it and list every category and allow a link to take us to an individual category page for that category. Pretty simple, pretty basic and simple and straightforward. It took me a while to come to that conclusion that that's all we had to do. At first I was trying to do all this stuff, pass all these props and run multiple queries and check, okay, do we have all the categories? Do we have none? Do we only have one category? And it was just a headache, and I realized, hey Mike, you kind of did something with this post. Because if you remember in the last video, we have a post template for our post page, and we did some stuff with Gatsby Node to generate a page for every post. So we're essentially doing the same thing for categories, but I wanted a way to be able to pull all the categories in using a component and display them with a component without having to redo that if I ever down the road wanted to put them on multiple different pages. That's essentially what I'm thinking here. Making everything reusable, making small components that work. So now what we need to do is we want to essentially build out a different page for every category like we did with the post. So what we're going to need to do is create a category page template like we did with the post page. So we're going to open up this post page, and we're going to create a new file called category page.js. So we can split this to the side to kind of show how we're going to do this kind of similar, copy this stuff over. It's going to be the same. So what we're going to want to do, we're also going to want the, getting way ahead of myself. We haven't, well, you can say that, but I do want to go back to this index page really quickly. We'll get rid of that. I do want to import the categories list component that we just made and see if it's working. So, all right. So we've imported the categories list, essentially this right here, to test to make sure that we can pull in these categories onto the home page. So let's just throw this, actually let's just throw this right under that little about blog header. So just put this on here. Oops. Yep. We're going to save, give that a save. Got some errors. Expected a return value in the error function. Oh, you know what? I didn't do it. I didn't do an explicit return. Did I? That's like 34. Ah, yep. See, we talked about this last video too, guys. That's extreme. I don't know how I didn't catch that. We talked about that. We would have to put the return and do all that good stuff. Oh, changed the wrong one. We'd have to put the return and do all that good stuff if I didn't just implicitly imply that there was a return. So where's the one we need taken away? Oh, you know what? We'll go back. We changed too many. Okay, so we just need to find where they all end. That one ends there. That one ends there. This one says it ends there. So essentially we need one more right here. Yep, okay. Cool. We'll give that a save. All right, compiled successfully. Boom. All right, so we have all our categories coming in now in our list. We have our all post that we hard coded, statically coded in there. We'll go over and show it right here, just to link back to all the posts. And then we have the 3 that I added. So if you come over here, we go to my categories. You see I have blog, Gatsby, and headless CMS. We head back to our page. We have blog, Gatsby, headless CMS, which is really, really cool. So if we click one, we can see our URL is the /category /Gatsby. So the slug is working, but of course we haven't built out this page yet. So that's what we're going to do now. I did want to get that in there and make sure that was working. And I do want to bring that into the category page because I do want to have my categories listed on the individual category page in case a user wants to go to another page or anything like that. We already have this ready to go. So let's build out a boilerplate template for this that we know we're gonna use. Sorry, I did that a lot, guys. One thing we are going to need that I don't want to forget, we are going to need this. We are going to need to link because we have that categories list. And we also are going to need to link to the actual blog. So that's why we need it. We're going to link to the actual blog. All right. So we're going to just actually build this out the same way we did the home page. Yeah, just we want to build it out the same way we did this page essentially. So I'm pretty much just going to copy over the stuff from the index page into this category page. I'm going to get rid of that. I hate that. Okay, so we had a main. I'm just going to copy it from the index page, actually. So I don't feel like writing all of that. Grab that. We're going to slap that here. We're just going to call this category page for right now. We're going to get rid of that right there because we do not have a blog list component in here. And eventually we might make a general component for the blog list. I didn't for this video because these are the only 2 places I really see the blogs being listed out. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that, but we'll see. We'll see what we think and if we think we should abstract that out into its own component and kind of make it to where it fits a bunch of different use case scenarios. But for now, I think it's fine the way it is. So just like we need to export category page. Okay, and just like the post page, we are going to run a query that's going to grab the data that we need to show for each category. So this category page is going to be passed in a category, just like the post page is passed in an ID or the post ID. This category template is going to be passed in the category's name. So with that name, we'll be able to search for all the WordPress posts that have a certain category. So that's what we're going to run here. Since we're given the category name, we're going to want this page to return all the posts with that name. And this is what I kind of got hung up on for a long time. I wanted to pass the category page the data already, like an array of posts. And I realized I had to back up, and I can run the query on this page to get all those posts. That was the problem I was running into. It kind of hung me up for a second. Is I essentially wanted to just be able to put the title and then put like map through these posts that I'm giving you to this category page. Well, there was no way for me to get that. And when we go into Gatsby node and create the page template, user create page API like we did with the post page, I'll show you kind of what I was trying to do and what I thought would work, and it actually didn't end up working. And I realized there's a much simpler solution here, which is I could just pass the category name to this category page, and then I could run a query to grab all the data I needed for that category. Really simple. So it took a little while to come to that conclusion. I did not think it was going to be that intuitive, but it actually is very simple, very easy. And just goes to show how well Gatsby was built and thought out, and what all went into building this system out. So we're going to have a query. We're going to have a variable, of course. Good Lord, can't type. We're going to have a variable, of course. Sorry, y'all, that's my washer. I have a variable. It's going to be a string because it's going to be the category name. So just like the post page, we're doing the exact same thing here. And we're going to run all WordPress posts because we're going to want to get all the posts, but we're going to want to filter. So now we're going to start getting into the really cool parts of GraphQL. So we can filter this data down. And we don't only want to filter by anything. We want to filter by categories. And we're getting even cooler. We want to match specific elements. So we're going to go element match. And like I said, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm not going to get into the specifics of GraphQL or kind of how it works because kind of out of the scope of where we're at right now with this, but super cool when you really start thinking into GraphQL. The fact that one endpoint, you can do all your querying, filtering, sorting in your query when you're grabbing your data, and you're not getting this huge, it's not like I'm going back and saying, hey, give me all the WordPress posts, and now I have to create this custom filter component that kind of filters, like search for all the ones where the categories name match the post category, and then only return those, and loading all that data. I'm literally only going to grab the data I need, and that is the power of GraphQL. One endpoint, I'm only grabbing the data I need, and look how easy it is to go through this. Literally, we're telling it we want all the WordPress posts. I want you to filter by categories. I want you to match this element where the name, and here the cool thing about this is here's all WordPress category. I kind of build this out. We're going to click filter. We're going to click what did we go now? What did we do now? We did categories. Sorry, I want to make sure I had that right. Wasn't it the same one? Oh yeah, that's right. I was like, I don't think we're on the right one. We're all WordPress posts. Sorry, filter, categories, element match. Look at all the things you can match. The link, the name, the parent, the path, the slug, the taxonomy, the children, the count. Literally all these things you can do to match just the categories. They also have author. They also have comment status. A good one that we're going to need to use is published. It's on here somewhere. Or status. And you can do published and all that. So if we have like drafts and stuff, we obviously don't want to be pulling back drafts. It's just something we're going to get to probably in the next video when we do like some cleanup stuff. We don't want to pull back drafts or things we're working on. We don't want people to see incomplete blogs. So, but we're going to go to categories. And we're going to match by name. And you can do, of course, equals. Some of these I'm not too sure about. Equals, not equals, a regular expression, in, not in. Like, this is insane. You can literally do all these things. And then we could just say equals blog, because that's one of my category names. Boom. And it's literally going to pull me back. It gave me ID because I did not select anything down here. So if I select ID, let's do entitle. Look at that. Literally. So that's what we're writing right right now. That's the query we're getting. So we can literally filter by categories. We want to match a certain element that we choose, which is the name, and we want it to equal this thing exactly. So that's super cool. So that's why we're passing in the name to this category page component, because we're going to be able to pull back everything we need for that category just by having its name. So yeah, I'm freaking excited. This is awesome. Edges, node. What did I say we needed before I forget? Yeah. So we need title, slug, and excerpt, because we're going to build out, like a blog preview like we did for the homepage. We just want to show a blog preview. Same exact method. And we would just want to give people a little taste of the blog that they can expect to get, just like we did on the homepage. So as you can see, we have the category page template. We're not doing anything with the data yet because we don't have the data, but we do have the way of retrieving the data. So when this category page, just like the post page, is being built out in the create page API with Gatsby, it's going to throw it the category name. It's going to grab the category name right here. We're going to tell it it's going to be a string. We're going to run this query. You're going to filter all the WordPress posts by the category. We want you to match a certain element name. We're not done with this. Equals yes, category. All right. So we're giving it literally just a category name. We're saying go to all the WordPress posts. We want you to filter it by categories, match an element of our choice, which it happens to be name. We want it to equal the category, which is the name. Boom. So that's essentially how simple it was for me to do that, and I was trying to do something completely different. So what we have to do now is go back into Gatsby node, and as you know, this is what controls our external APIs, or kind of controls the back-end building of our website with Gatsby, like at build time. So here is where I got stuck for a little bit as well, because I tried to really overcomplicate the solution. At first, I thought, okay, I have all WordPress posts here, but I need to, at first, essentially what I tried to do was put this query right here. And that's all WordPress posts, and that one was all WordPress posts, so I thought that was a problem. Because what I wanted to do was pass all the category, all the posts for the category into the page, like right here, like as context. I wanted to have post and like have an array. And so what you can do is you can do this and like have this post run, and then have, say, like category post, and then have another all WordPress post query run. And I found that out, so you could have two of the same name, because as you see right here, we go result data all WordPress post. So it's like, well, that can't work, because if I have two that are both all WordPress post, we're not going to get the right data. But that's actually way overkill. We didn't need to do that. All we simply need to do is first, let's bring in our template that we just made for the category page. Category page equals path.resolve, yada, yada, yada. We're going to copy this because it's almost the same. I think I'm taking more time copying this than it would have. We're going to go category page. All right. So we need our template. Now we're going to come here, and now we need our query. So in the simplest form of this, all we need is the category name. That is literally all we need. And of course, we need the slug to create the path. So essentially, we don't need to know the post. We don't need to know anything else. All we need to do is do all WordPress category like earlier. We just need to grab all our categories so that we know how many different category pages we're going to need to build. It's literally that simple. And I was sitting over here overthinking this for like 30 minutes. So, okay. We got all our categories. We got their name. We got their slug. So we can build out the path to them, and we can pass the name to the category template so it can run the query and build out the page. Literally, exact same thing we were doing with the post page. I was just really overthinking and overcomplicating it. So, I want to go right here. We're going to have a const categories. Literally, we're doing about the exact same thing we did earlier. All WordPress category dot edges. Oops. All right. So categories for each category. So for each category we want to build out a page. So for each category we want to build out a page. So create page API once again. We have a path that we're going to specify. Template literals, guys. Let's not forget that. Remember the mistake we made last week or last live stream. Category, like I said, that's what I wanted it to be. Category, can't spell, .node.slug. That way we can get to that individual page, because if you remember on the categories list, we link to /category node slug. So that's why we're doing it that way, so we can match that up. Component, we want to give it the category page component. And context, we want to just literally all we have to do is pass in the category name. So category or slug name. Sorry, this is for the query. So name. So boom, we have that passed in. It's looking good. We're gonna give that a quick save. All right. Let me check my notes, make sure I'm not forgetting anything, because I've done this a couple times, but I want to make sure we got everything. All right. I just remembered something. We didn't build out this little page right here. So we're going to build this out. So now that we know we have the page being built on build time, we can actually do something with the data that we're going to tell the page to build with. So we're going to pass in the data from the query. We're going to, I want to remember how I did this so I don't freak out if something looks different. Okay. I want to call this category, which we're going to figure out a way to get the category name right there. I don't think I did that when I was thinking through this, but we're going to figure out a way to get that going right there. So essentially what we want to do is have another post wrapper. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to grab this, because it's essentially the same thing we're going to do right here. Put this post wrapper right there. And instead of all word, yeah, we're still getting all WordPress post, edges map, post node slug, yep. Post node excerpt, yep. All that's going to stay the same. Yeah, it all pretty much stays the same. See, that's the power of using these posts and using these queries, is most of it's the same. And that's kind of why I was thinking, like, eventually we may want to make that blog list into a separate component, since we're literally copying this exact same code. All we're passing in, all that would be different is the data that we're giving it. So it'd be really easy to make that a component, and then just make one of its props the data that we're passing in, or the post that it's going to loop through, and make it really easy. Okay. Okay, we're going to give that a save. Okay. We're going to rebuild the Gatsby site. Which we will go over that error eventually, guys. I know I have yet to go over it. Did I see something? Some things are deprecated, blah, blah, blah. Oh man, I think I used results somewhere and said, let's give that a save. Let's go ahead and rerun this, because it's not going to work. If you run start, that's why you look at your console logs, guys. Sometimes it might save you a little bit of time and figuring out what you did wrong. I always just like to glance at it while it's building, because it'll tell you like errors or anything that it got that it didn't think ran right, or something that happened. So, okay. We're looking good. We're going to come back over here, give that a little refresh. No, I do not want to translate. All right, blog. Boom. We got all our posts from the blog page. Headless CMS. Oh, yep, because we don't have, I actually don't, I know y'all don't know this, but I actually don't have any post with the headless CMS blog category, as you can see right there. Gatsby, we have one. Blog, we have two. Let's head to this one. Now I want to go back to all post. See, it takes me back home, because that's where I have all my posts showing. Boom. So what we did here in a wrap up, in an effect, was we created a categories. First of all, we used Gatsby's use static query React hook to build in the ability for our custom categories list component to get the categories without being in a page. So being its own component. we used that in our categories list to build out our categories list that we can now use across the entire site without having to run this query on every single page that we wanted to get the categories for, which is this is the exact kind of setup we can use for like a blog, like a typical blog list. A typical blog list component. So I was thinking about something else, like, oh, maybe we could use it for the categories, but you run into that problem where I don't know, like if I specify the category, I don't know a name or a filter that I can give it to tell me to give it all of them. So like if it has a filter, I'd have to run one. If it doesn't have a filter, I'd have to run something else. So yeah, that kind of thought just kind of grazed across my mind. So that's kind of what stopped me from making a universal blog list component until I figure that out, but we'll get to that. We'll probably figure that out and use something for that there. So we created these components. Then we created a category page template like we did with the post page. So every category will use this template to build out its page and show its post with its own query that's going to run and get all the data for that certain category that we pass in through the context that we give the category template when we build the site because of our Gatsby node create page API. So that's a quick run through of what we just did in the past 30 minutes. I know I said that really fast, but I think I went over it a few times over in the video. But I just kind of wanted to wrap it up there or do a quick overview there of kind of like what we did. So as you can see, boom, 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 and the blog's updating. But this is really annoying. We don't have the name. And that's stupid because I'm pretty sure. Let me go to the category. I'm pretty sure one of the things. So we're grabbing all the WordPress posts. We have edges, node, title, slug, excerpt, all the WordPress posts, but we don't have the actual category. I wonder if we could just. I wonder if this is a thing. I haven't done this, so I have no idea if this is gonna work. Because we gave it here. Because we're past this in the context, I'm sure it doesn't actually live in category. I'm sure it lives somewhere else. Yeah, so it doesn't actually live in category, so that was stupid. I have my inspect up. It just went up here, so I'm going to look up here. Oh man, I have the new. I'm not gonna lie, I have the new React dev tools, and I really don't know how to use them. Like I feel really stupid. But it might just be, I've only used them on Gatsby so far, but it's different. So I look at it, I'm kind of just like it's definitely different. I don't know if it's Gatsby because Gatsby has all these references. I don't know if that's the only reason, but it's definitely different. So here's a category page. Let's see. What? Just a little bit. So here's what I'm looking at. Here's the new dev tool. So here's the category page. We have the path. We have the URI. I'm trying to see where we can grab that. Here's the data. And this is different. Yeah, this is real different. Here is the category page, which is this right here, which I would think this is what we're passing. This is what we're passing the data prop to. Huh. It's not allowing me to expand that. Nothing on here really clicks. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or what. As y'all can tell, I've not played around with this enough. So we have that context for the app value, for the app container. It says it's empty though. So we should have a context here, I would think. Oh, wow. Here we go. Now I'm getting it to come down. Okay. I wonder if it was just kind of like stalled for a second or something. Oh, sweet. Okay. So this is actually what I wanted. So we have page context. We can go props.pagecontext.category. So props.page.context.category. Let's give that a save. Oh, what happened? We had some errors. Error, props is not defined. Oh, here, sorry. Uber rookie mistake right there. Give that a save. Come back over here. Wow, it was that simple. Boom. Now we're updated with the category name as well. All posts, you can see we have blog, Gatsby, headless CMS. We can even do this. Post about, do something like that. If we want to give them a little, post about blogging, post about Gatsby, post about headless emails. Now you'd have to give your category names like something a little bit like, see, post about blog doesn't make sense, or but blogging here would make sense. So not saying I would go with that, but just to show you how easy it would be to rename these sections, and then boom, you have your other completely different section on the home page. But boom, I want blog. Boom, I want post about Gatsby. Boom, I want post about headless CMS, or all my posts. So that is going to be the video, you guys. I'm really excited about that. I think it's really cool. So I'm going to tidy some of this up, get it looking a little bit better for the next stream. I don't want to really do much styling on the stream. I think it's kind of boring. Unless I do something really cool, then I'll go over it with y'all and show you. Maybe like a cool loader or something, but I don't want to really do much styling or spend much time doing that. I don't think y'all want to see that. It's pretty boring. The fun stuff is in the logic. So I have a few ideas for the next video. We can do like a custom search feature, which, because everybody knows WordPress search functionality sucks. So we can kind of tap into that and kind of use some different stuff to kind of create a, maybe like a type ahead search, or like a type ahead search or a smart search or something like that. So we could search through our blog, or we can go in and add some other pages with some static content, but I might do that on my own because once again, that's kind of boring. Because you can see up here, I have an about page that I know I want to have, and I want to have a live stream page that kind of connects to show you all the videos from YouTube. But I want that to be broken up by the different series I do, because all these will be series. Of course, we're in the building a blog using Gatsby series right now, but I want them to be broken up by series. So that could be something we could do. If you have other suggestions, just go ahead and let me know. I'm super down. I'm down for whatever y'all want to do, whatever y'all want to see. I'm just having I'm having a blast building this and doing this stuff. So let me know. This is for you guys, but it's also for myself, I'm not gonna lie. But thank y'all so much for watching. I'll see y'all next time.